There's this thing about who can adopt, and that's become kind of fuzzy. And it doesn't have to be the person whose house is directly adjacent to this tree. It could be somebody blocks away. We've had people who have, I'll adopt that tree like a mile away just to try to save the tree. Of course, now it's their responsibility to keep it trimmed. So if people do adopt these trees in order to keep them at the proper height, they don't views, but they don't pull the tree out. Yes, sir.
What's the general time duration for a real smooth trim job from inception of application to get a tree trim?
That's a good question, and I probably can't really tell you too well, just kind of anecdotally a little bit, because I get involved in this when all else has failed. And it finally comes to the Planning Commission. Months and months have gone by. Generally, when I see something like that, it comes to us. It's probably been in the works for 6 months. Sometimes these things go on for over a year because there's a lot of negotiations involved. There might be a dozen or 15 homeowners. There's about 20 different trees. And it gets to be very complicated. You have to negotiate with all these people.
Well, let's say simple projects, so simple applications.
I'd say if there's some cooperation, the mediator is able to take care of 90% of these, probably 3 months, 2-3 months, something like that. Yes, back here.
If the city is sued in connection with its decision on a case, does the city absorb the legal defense costs, or does the applicant participate in any way?
No, the city has been sued over this. The city has been sued over the whole ordinance program. Of course, the city gets sued, and the city attorney defends the city of Rancho Palos Verdes. The suit will be brought almost always by the owner of the property who has the trees, and then the people who are trying to get their view restored are generally out of the picture. They don't have anything to do with that. But so far, the city has always won. These ordinances have always been upheld. And yes, ma'am.
When a house that gets sold, are the realtors aware of what if your house is the one with the tree and they're supposed to maintain it? Is the new owner now responsible for that tree?
Yes, the new owner is responsible for that tree. And if you're buying a piece of property, you should always examine title, see if there's any deed restrictions or anything else on that, in that part of what your title company is supposed to do, your realtor is supposed to do. There are lots of transactions that go through, and of course not everybody knows. And that is kind of a problem. It might be a little bit of a surprise for the new owner, but when you buy a piece of property, you should check on these sorts of things. They're all reported. Yes, yeah, you got to move to Rancho Palos. Yeah. Yes.
I'd like to observe with you. Do you have a catalog that doesn't say, well, hey, here's a tree that grows to about 12 feet normally for a third?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, the question is, do we have like a catalog or some reference materials to help people who want to landscape their homes with plants that won't become a problem in the future, they won't grow that tall? And yes, we do. Part of the procedure that we have is if a tree is deemed to be view impairing, there are a number of people who are on fixed incomes, retirees and the like, who have a lot of trees that are really overgrown, and perhaps they're not trimming and pruning as much as they did back when they were, they had more income to dispose of. These folks, this could be a bit of a burden because tree trimming is not cheap, and you may have to do this annually. Yeah. So what happens many times in these instances is I've seen lots of cooperation where neighbors will get together. And even though the applicant, the person who's trying to get their view restored, is only obligated to pay for the first trimming, they might like Mrs. Brown, and even though she's a widow and she's on a fixed income and all that kind of stuff, but they want to get their view restored, they'll volunteer to pay for each year's trimming. I mean, I've seen some really good cooperation among neighbors. They want to restore, but they don't want to take her tree out. She loves her tree, so they'll do that for her. However, sometimes we don't get that kind of a thing, in which case the tree can be removed at the tree owner's option. It is the option of the tree owner either to go through a trimming process or removal of the tree. They can elect. And if they elect to have it removed, then not only does the applicant pay for the removal, applicant pays for a replacement tree. So a boxed tree can be put in its place. It will be of a species that won't grow into anybody else's view area. So we do know what types of trees should be sustained. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if it's covered under what you're talking about, but if someone can't build like fence posts, so instead you have shrubs,
Yes.
whatever you got.
Yes. Yes. Well, okay, the question is, what happens if somebody, you have a 6-foot height limit on your tree, on fences on your property, but somebody puts in a row of, could be like shrubs or cypress trees or whatever it is, they kind of grow next to each other, and they kind of form a living wall, up to like 10 feet or something like that. Okay, what do you do about that? Well, in ranch, it could be in the view ordinance sort of a thing, if it reaches those height situations. Our city also has a hedge rule. So you can't have tall hedges, especially in the front yard setback area in your front yard. So you put up like basically a row of 10-foot tall bushes, and you make like a private compound in your front yard. You don't have a wall that high. People do that sometimes. You can't do that in Rancho Palos Verdes. We have ordinances to take care of rows of hedges as well. They can be small, but it can be a certain height. I forget the height is, but it can.
Paul, maybe a couple more questions, and then would you stay a little bit, take individual?
Sure. I'll be happy to. Yes, sir.
I just want to throw something out here. My name is James Corzini. I grew up in the Riviera my whole life, 45 years, and a lot of people are asking questions about this tree ordinance that we're trying to put together in the Riviera.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents live on Camino de Encanto, but they're very lucky because they live right above the homes where Parkway School used to be. So there's no blockage whatsoever.
Yeah.
However, my girlfriend lives at 513 Camino de Encanto. And she's in a position where she may have to fight to keep her view. So I would ask you people today, if you're interested in helping the Riviera Associate, the whole Riviera Association, and you want to know about what's going on May 6th, from 1 to 4 at 513 Camino de Encanto, we'll have food and drink so you can judge for yourself. I'm serious about this. If you want to judge for yourself and see what's going on, then you'll find out what's really happening. So I'm inviting all of you between 1 and 4 at 513 Camino de Encanto on May 6th.
Just Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, that's right. You can all come.
The day after.
Please do. Yeah, she knows it now. This is ridiculous. If you care about your community, you're really going to find out what's going on. Okay?
And sign the petition.
And sign the petition.
petition and you can't get anything to eat.
I'll provide the food, I'll provide everything. Please show up. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
513 Camino de Encanto.
Go to city
She's
council.
probably going to hit me later, but this is what has to be done.
They do it now.
We're going on May 15th. Yeah, we'll be going down on May 15th to city council and making a formal request that the city draft a view ordinance at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
That prevents people from planting these trees that will grow up and block you. Trees are never built.
No, we don't have any kind of tree censorship sort of thing. The question is, do we have any sort of a provision in our ordinance that prevents people from planting trees that will someday grow into? No, we don't. Yes. As for hedges, we have something.
Did you see,
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Hi. Does your ordinance provide for problems that trees are creating in addition to view, other than view? In other words, like air,
seeing the sky, seeing the sunsets, having an open feeling. Do all those things enter in at all, or do you just not handle it?
Well, I mentioned, the question is, did everybody hear that question? Okay, the question is there other things other than views of the ocean or the skyline and that sort of thing that comes into play, such as sky, air, and light?
Wind, weather,
Right.
all of it?
It does not. In fact, when it comes to our building ordinances as well, because I think you guys have a building overlay which prevents building that would impact views of neighbors. Well, we have a building ordinance too, but it's citywide, and it specifically states in there that air and light is not something that can be protected. So, in terms of views for trees, I didn't mention sky. Sky is not a view. So, I mean, blue sky is great, but that's not a protected view. So, it has to be something like the horizon, the mountains, the islands, the ocean, that sort of thing. So, if it is, these big trees are casting huge shadows on your solar collectors next to your pool, and now they won't heat up anymore, unless it's blocking your view, I don't think it can do anything about it.
Thank you.
All right, if they have any more questions, I'll be back someplace here, but thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Paul Tetrault, for coming down and explaining how a successful tree ordinance works. We would like to take the message and take suggestions, get your ideas, and work with them. So you've got two invitations tonight, one on May 6th, at 513 Community Day Conference.
Let's pick them off,
The other
too.
invitation is Tuesday, May 15th. There will be a group of people going down to City Council. We'll make a formal request that the city adopt a tree ordinance, restoration ordinance, which we like our keeping to. So come on down. Thank you.